Welcome back to my 11th episode of my 12-part series recapping my life in Japan. I started a month in Kanazawa where I just moved for my next volunteering job. Almost right away my Japanese family came to visit and we had the best time together. We kicked things off at Omicho Market, which was packed with energy and amazing food. The fresh seafood here is to die for. Then we headed to Kenroku Garden, one of the most beautiful gardens in Japan. Walking through it felt like stepping into a painting. Seriously, it was stunning. We also checked out Kanazawa Castle Park and explored the castle itself, which was so cool. For our stay, we had rented a small Japanese apartment. It was really cozy for the four of us and we would rest up a little bit before going out for dinner. We went to a really cozy Izakaya and we enjoyed so much food and drinks. After dinner, we took a taxi to the Kanazawa Castle because TeamLab had a digital art installation in the park. This is by far the best light show I have ever seen in my entire life. The next day, I decided to just relax and soak it all in without bringing my camera. We literally spent the entire day exploring by foot, drinking sake and umeshu, and eating way too much food. After dark, we visited Kenroku Garden again to experience the illumination. The trees, including the famous Karasaki pine trees, are lit up and the reflection on Kasumikaegi Pond is breathtaking. Then again, it was time for more delicious food and drinks. On the third day together, we only had half a day before my Japanese family had to go back to Tokyo. So we did what we do best, sightseeing and eating. Later in the month, I took a little trip to Toyama. The trainer there was gorgeous with beautiful countryside views the whole way. The weather was perfect, so I really enjoyed my time just walking around the city, enjoying the parks, looking at the buildings, and of course visited a few shrines and temples. The Toyama City Glass Museum was really nice. It blends traditional glass art with the modern pieces. The Toyama Castle was rather small but cute. I really enjoyed the castle park. The contrast between nature and city is really nice. There was an observatory, so I got a really nice look of the city. Before returning back to Kanazawa, I enjoyed some local Japanese food and drinks. Once again, I packed my bags and this time I went to Takayama for my last volunteering job. Takayama's old town, Sanmachi Suji, is full of Edo period charm. Think wooden buildings, sake breweries, and tea houses. It's often called Little Kyoto for a reason. At this point, I didn't really film much because I had just been sick for quite a while in Kanazawa, so when I got to Takayama, I was really tired. So on my work days, I really didn't film anything, but when I would go on day trips, I would make videos. I also did a day trip to Hida Furukawa, and if you're a fan of the movie Your Name, this place is a must visit. I visited all the places that were featured in the movie, and to be honest, I love the city in itself, and even though the movie came out in, I think, 2016, it was still just as fun to travel here now. The best part was that at a workshop you could make your own bracelet just like in the movie with the same technique and everything. And the lady that taught me, she was so sweet and nice, and it was a really good practice for me in Japanese, so I would highly recommend doing it. One day I took a trip to Shirakawa-go, a UNESCO World Heritage Site known for its old Goshuin farmhouses. Walking through the village felt like stepping back in time. The thatched roof farmhouses were built to handle heavy snow, and I checked out one that had been turned into a museum to see how people used to live. It was raining quite a lot, but that also meant that it was not as many people there at the same time, so it was really nice and quiet just strolling around. I was chatting with some of the guests at the hostel I was working at in Takayama, and I mentioned I was going on a little road trip, so Mariana and Abby asked if they could join me, so I said of course. The town is known for its historical charm with traditional machiya houses, Gujo Hachiman Castle, and a network of clear water canals running through the city. And I have to say the timing of the trip was so beautiful with the autumn colors. Like, I couldn't believe how pretty the trees were. And I have to mention that Gujo is known as the fake food capital of Japan. We got to see skilled craftsmen creating insanely realistic food replicas. It was so cool to see just how much details go into each piece. So of course I had to try it for myself. We wandered around, soaked in the atmosphere, and found some hidden gems along the way. Of course, we also had to try some of the local food. This time, the real deal. We actually spent a little bit too much time in Gujo because our next stop was Gero, famous for their hot springs. After all the exploring, nothing felt better than soaking in the warm, mineral-rich waters. The whole town has this peaceful vibe with little footpaths along the streets and beautiful mountain views everywhere you look. We found an onsen to relax in, and of course I'm not allowed to film there, so this is the last footage. After Takayama, I was going to spend the rest of my time in Japan in Tokyo, but before that I had to go to Kawaguchiko to visit my best friends Joanna and Leanne. If you have followed my YouTube channel for a little while, you would know that I first met Leanne in Beppu in April. And then I met Joanna in Kawaguchiko in June, and also Leanne again in Kawaguchiko in July. Then in October, Joanna and I decided to volunteer together in Beppu once again. We rented some bikes and we started at Arakura Fuji Sengen Shrine, where we had incredible views of Mount Fuji and the iconic red pagoda. We also explored some shrines around the area, including the Fujisan Shimoya Omura Sengen Jinja and Arayayama Shrine. It was a beautiful, peaceful experience. The next morning, while Joanna was resting, Leanne and I went to Fujiomura Sengen Shrine Hongu. This shrine was tucked away in nature and the vibe there was so peaceful and tranquil. It was definitely one of my favorite moments. The weather was perfect for a bike ride and we had such clear views of Fuji all the time. We also visited Kawaguchi Asama Shrine, where we just took in the surroundings and enjoyed the quietness. We wrapped up our time together by reminiscing about the old days at the hostel, exploring more of the area and of course eating delicious food. And this is how I ended my November month. So I will see you in the next video. Mata ne!